And he also talks about what has made beloved to him, and he talks about what has been made beloved to him: perfume and women, and the coolness of my eye in the prayer. In other words, two worldly things and one unworldly thing. We can talk about which of them are masculine, which of them are feminine. Many things have been written about it. But what did he love in women? Yes, he loved them as a man. Of course he loved them as a man. But he loved in them the rahmah that women possess. The universally unconditional, merciful love. Not to say he didn't love his wives and others, but this quality of rahmah, especially that the mother has, made women especially beloved to the Prophet ﷺ, because they were the dhikr of Allah. He said, paradise lies at the feet of the mothers. And he asked, who is the most deserving of our affectionate company? And he said, your mother, your mother, your mother, and then your father. So we asked why he gave the mother 3 degrees of perfection over the father. He says, your mother carried you for 9 months in her blessed womb, which is the root of rahmah, by the way. She painfully gave birth to you. After that, she gave up her sleep for you. She suckled you. She carried you. This is men and women. She carried you in her arms for 3 years. She cleaned up your mess. She did your laundry. She cooked for you. She served you food for 18 years. And as you aged, she followed your progress with great interest. And the man said to the Prophet, oh, Rasulullah, suppose I carried my mother on my back for years. Suppose I clean up after her. Suppose I cook for her. Suppose I feed her. Suppose I attend to the same services as long as she could live. And the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, but there'll be one difference between you. He said, what? He said, your mother looked out for you to live while you're waiting for her to die. So when we talk about love and about all the forms of this love and the levels of this love and the worldly love and the profane love, all of these things, we don't deny any of these things. But we talk to, why do we love? We love because it reminds us of Allah, that it is the remembrance of Allah, that it is the dhikr of Allah. It is a matter of rising in love rather than falling in love. What the world seems to treasure is falling in love. That's the stuff of, as I say, of the songs, the stories, the movies, the novels, and all of these things. When you look at something, you say to yourself, does this love I feel bring me closer to Allah and His Messenger, or does it bring me closer to the dunya? When considering love for some other person, man or woman, we must look first at where is the love, where does it begin between the two people? And it is said that love begins with ittifaq, which means, it comes from wafiqa, which means compatibility, which has many levels of meaning in Arabic. At the outer level, it means to be suitable. What are you looking for in somebody? You got to be suitable, fit, consistent, and proper. The next level, lines of reconciliation. Does it bring you into agreement? Does it make peace between you? Does it harmonize? Does it balance out at another level? Different shades of agreement, consent, confirmation, approval. Deeper still, understanding that success or assistance or prosperity is only the result of the favor of Allah. This is the underlying basis and foundation upon which the stages of two beings must exist. These things must exist. Otherwise, it's fairy tale, or it's social, or it's something that somebody's arranged, or something like that. But real love between human beings, these are the basis of it. And we can find that in Surah Nisa, he talks about them. In one, he says, he uses the word, he talks about it, and he says, let me see how he said about it. He said, if, he's talking about the problems between men and women, disputes. And he says, if you fear that there's a breach between two of them, then appoint somebody who's wise from among his family and somebody who's wise from among their family. And if they desire reconciliation, Allah will make them to be of one mind. What is the word he used for that? Yuwafiki. Yuwafiki. Be of one mind. So, husband and wife of one mind. He uses the same thing when he talks about the Shuaib, Prophet Shuaib, alayhi-s-salaam. And he said, he's talking, he says, my people, what do you think? That I possess a clear sign for you? You've given me the provision that I would, they thought he was going behind their backs, that I would go behind your backs and do something I have forbidden you to do? I only want to put things right as far as I can. This is the same word, to put things right between two people. So all of the bright and etheric and shining esoteric personalities among the Sufis held that the very first step in the path of love was the self attaining to the station of compatibility, which brings the selves into accord with one another, in a way set out by Allah, and harmonizing the self with what is written by Allah and through the practice of His Prophet ﷺ. And only if you do this can you enter the path that holds any success and congruence in the end. And the Sufis held, as all the orthopractic and traditional Muslims held, that the perfect and the only means of reaching this stage was conformity to and adoption of the divinely revealed law as demonstrated in the practice and the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. So if you try to make a relationship that's not based upon that, it's never going to work. Never going to work in reality. If you make a relationship that doesn't have as its very first component the love of Allah. I love Allah, she loves Allah. I love Allah, he loves Allah. We love Allah. Nothing will work unless that's the basis of it. We love the Rasul alayhi-s-salaam because he is the Habib of Allah. Husband says, I love the Rasul alayhi-s-salaam. I love him more than I love you. And she says, I love him more than I love you. This possibility of something happening in this relationship that is real, really real, real love. But if this is not there, if some other thing is there, it will never work. It won't really work. You might be happy, you might have fun, you might have good times, you might blah, 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 all of those things. But if that isn't at the basis, that if you, husband and wife, man and woman, don't say at the beginning and everything like that, the first thing we love beyond all other things is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nothing will happen in truth. This is the basis of it. Because what happens when you have a problem? That's what he's talking about. What happens when you have a problem? How are you going to solve your problem? Who's going to solve your problem? I think this, I think that. You think this, I think that. Who's going to pick up the sock? You're going to pick up the sock? I'm going to pick up the sock. Who's going to do this? Who's going to do that? It goes on and on and on. All relationships are filled with that kind of stuff. There has to be some place where it's resolved. What can resolve it? Who can resolve your arguments? What can you bring your arguments to? Who will resolve it? Allah. What did Allah say about this? If Allah didn't say it, what did the Prophet ﷺ do about it? That's the only way we can solve our arguments. The only way we can solve our problems. The only way we can solve our difficulties. There is no other way. If the man and woman don't know this, they can't make nothing in truth. This is what he's trying to say. You want love? Then love Allah. Love His Rasulullah. And then find that love in one another. And then you can make, perhaps, inshallah, a real relationship in this world. So, the next stage after this means like harmonization between the two people. Okay, now we're getting along. All right, so what coming after that? Ulfa. Ulfa is the natural outgrowth of coming to this accord. Okay, we both agree this, we both submit, we accommodate ourselves to this divine law of Allah and His Rasulullah. Okay? Then we speak of intimacy or concord with Allah. We're speaking at the early stages of it. Huh? So ulfa, what does ulfa mean? It's a station which a great number of pious Muslims, many of them very simple people, like the guy in the desert, reach. It's a place, what is it? Deep satisfaction. Quiet contentment, effortless harmony, limpid grace. Ulfa means that you feel that Allah has accepted you, that you're accepted by Allah. It reflects a picture of peace, a world at peace, even though there's wars going on everywhere. There's always wars going on. But you are at peace. You, husband and wife, man and woman, are at peace. A world that is whole, a world that is seamless, a world in which there's time. Time to live, time to breathe, time for children, time for family, time for friends, time to create, time for beauty, time to love, time to worship, time to do nothing but spend some time in the remembrance of Allah, in the dhikr of Allah, and time to grow old, and time to die among friends and families, among kith and kids. This is the next stage of love. That feeling of like old shoe. My wife is my old shoe. My husband is my old shoe. It fits me. It's comfortable on my foot. Like that. That feeling. I don't mean to put down something, but something is comfortable. Love is comfortable to each other. You are comfortable with one another. That you find comfort in one another. This is the word of ulfa. A dimension that many people, believers in the world, dwelt within. Though everywhere today it's under attack. This concept of contentment. Like all other natural habitats. And I could talk here about the whole modern ecological crisis is really, in truth, the outer reflection of a much deeper sickness which has to do with the destruction of the traditional world itself, which of necessity is always integrated with the changing rhythms and unfoldings of life, of the exigencies of life in the world, a world that is rooted in truth, in divinely revealed principles and laws upon which the world is constructed, including the world of love. When that is missing, everything goes like the way it's going. And only those who submit, and only those who surrender Islam will ever get any inkling of this concord, this itilaf, which is being itself. Yani it's to touch what actually made it all, what actually created it all, how it actually is at heart. Go and walk in the wilderness. Go and look at what Allah made. Instead of always looking at what we made, people made. Look at what Allah made. Look and see it. Try to let it come into your eyes and into your soul. This is, you see what it is. What this is. Security and peace, concord with Allah, carrying out what Allah has ordered us to do easily as human beings. Qud udkhuli jannah. It said to him, enter my garden, enter the garden. He said, only I wish my people knew. People spend millions of dollars. I am going to Bali. How much it costs to go to Bali? Me and my wife are going to Bali. Oh, good. How much it costs to go to Bali? Well, there's the airplane ticket here and there, there's the hotel, that. It's a beautiful place. Or, in the Caribbean, or whatever, when you go like this. Yeah. And they wind up fighting about who's sleeping on which side of the bed and who knows what, and what is it for? He's saying, you go like today, we drove to town, it snowed. It snowed on the trees that all had white blossoms. All the trees were these white blossom trees, popcorn trees, and all the trees had snow on top of that. Where can you see something like that? This is Allah's creation. This gift to your heart. You take from this, you see in this the beauty of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They tell you, enter my garden. Come, enter it. See what I made, people. Look at what I made. Look what I've created. Look at this what it is. Don't be running all the time for something. Look what is in front of you. Enter my garden. Enter into this beauty. Enter into this peace. Enter into this contentment. If you enter into that, then all the world can be at war. Even the war is going right there, but I am at peace in myself. So, you will get some idea, what are we talking about here? Fathomless satisfaction, quiet contentment, effortless harmony, limpid grace, intimacy, concord, reconciliation, peace, harmony, balance, subtle shades of agreements between husband and wife, between man and woman, consent, confirmation. These are the things to be looking for in your relationship. These are what you want between yourselves. Well, between yourselves and with Allah. With Allah first, and reflected into your life and your relationship. This is what it means to be the Habib. This is what it means to be the Wali, to be the lover of Allah. And so from this perspective, this is only the beginning. We're only talking about the very beginning of love. I don't know. I have some time. Only the very beginning of love. These things. But if these things, this is what to look for. That's why I said at the beginning of the talk, make a checklist. If you don't see these things, if you don't see this satisfaction, if you don't see this quiet contentment, if you don't see this harmony, if you don't see this, something is missing.